Good morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Happy Monday. Alongside of me, Brother Doug. What's up, man?
Morning, Zach. My wife was singing to the theme song the whole way through.
It's hard not to sing to that theme song, or at least tap your toe. I mean, you got to at least tap your toe, right?
She asked me before why we played for so long, and we're all just getting out of the shower and brushing our teeth as it's about to start, right? Is that why?
Yeah. It's so people have time to tune in and they don't miss this important content.
Yeah. I think one of your eyes are stuck from rolling. Yeah.
Maybe.
Although, let me tell you something, Zach. I was thinking about you this morning before we started texting and stuff. We are so different, you and I. Like we're not supposed to be friends, I don't think. Like I'm the one that assumes the best always, even when it makes no sense. That's media enabler, and you're the direct shooter. Oh, I forgot my lubrication at home, kind of Zach. But there's
Chicago. It's the Chicago.
There's clearly these qualities that we line up with, and I feel like we complement each other well. So I'm grateful to be hanging out with you each week.
Hey Val, what words did you put to that? Jenny wants to know.
Oh, did you create any lyrics, Val? No, it sounds like a porno when you do that. That doesn't work. Well, let's get back to that. Can you edit this out? Jenny, what are you doing? You're getting us in trouble here.
Oh man, too funny. Yeah, we are kind of like those two puppies that are just like they shouldn't be. You ever seen that picture of the two puppies? It's like a big old pit bull walking and then like a little chihuahua or whatever. Yeah.
But I can't think of a time that you and I were completely opposed to an idea either, or a situation that we're networking together or sharing with,
Well, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. That's a perfect introduction to this, right? That EQ. I know you know. They don't know.
Oh, cut that out too. Edit that part.
No, but it is a perfect introduction to today's topic, which is emotional quotient, our EQ. How is your EQ? And so it's learning to match that energy. It's learning to.
I'll take Chihuahua. I've got no muscle.
Yeah. So it's learning to match that energy, and it's learning to read other people's state of emotions, of mind, of whatever, right? And so like it or not, in the appliance world, in the HVAC world, in the plumbing world, you are salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to
People just turned off.
Oh
They
man.
believe you, Zach. They just shut
Well,
up.
it
Yeah.
happened. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last time. No, but we're salespeople,
We
right?
are.
And so we have to sell ourselves, we have to sell our companies, we have to sell our services to customers. And how do you do that? There has to be an emotional connection to the customer. And both Doug and I have shared some samples of that before, and we'll kind of talk more at length about that today. But that's why we work as a pair, is we're able to read that emotional state. I am not the most emotionally, my EQ is not super high, right? I am the person that has to work harder at it, where Doug is a pretty natural person in that EQ. The EQ comes naturally to him. So we'll talk more about that today too.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. And no, it isn't. So get over it.
Yeah.
That I, honestly, and I say that with love. I had a coach say it to us, and he is a very, like, the dude could just put you to sleep with his soothing words. Like, he is that very nice and loving coach. He'll slap you around when you need it, but he's just very soothing. One of the things that he said to us was, get over it. You're salespeople. Everyone sells everything. You had to sell yourself to your wife or your husband or your spouse, whatever,
Sure.
to get that buy-in. You're a salesperson. You've been a salesperson your whole life. That's just how it works.
Oh,
And
I tricked
so,
you. Sorry.
which way did that go? Did
She was doubting I sold myself to her, but she said I didn't have to.
Oh.
I was maybe more attractive back then. So
maybe. I mean, you're still married, so you did something right.
Life insurance policy. Oh, wait, that's expiring next month.
Gosh.
All right. Well, anyway, let me open us in prayer.
Yeah, open us in prayer. Open us in prayer.
Lord God, you have made everything that is good, including humor and friendliness and making people around us feel good about themselves, Lord. And so this is where we're at today, Lord, talking about being servant hearts to those around us, recognizing our role and our importance to help them along the way, whether it's a customer who has a broken dishwasher. Lord, help us recognize those who this is a minor affair and others who this has turned their world upside down. Help us come alongside and sense where they're at and meet them where they're at and be part of the solution to make their day better. When it comes to our employees and our friends and our family, Lord, help us be empathetic, sympathetic, and careful to pay attention to who they are and the needs that they have. God, you've modeled that perfectly in your perfect love in your Son, Jesus Christ. And we thank you for what he's done on the cross. And we just pray, Lord, today we sense you moving in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, see, here's the secret, Soul.
Yes, Saul.
Here's the secret. Doug and I have been slowly turning up the temperature on you guys for the last 7 months, to get everyone in the audience to realize you're salespeople. Every last one, from your CSR to your owner to your technicians, you are all salespeople. Every one of you. So we've been slowly turning that temperature up, and now we're bringing the pain, bringing the pain.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Doug, you shared a story, and it is one of my favorite stories about EQ as a technician. And you shared that story, that sweet little lady and her washer. So can you share that again and just kind of how you read that situation, and then we'll dissect it.
The ringer washer lady?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. That story was related to whether it's worth fixing or not, and us pushing our beliefs onto other people. But if we come alongside them and recognize that a broken washer for a little old lady that was almost 120 years ago, and had her second washer ever, which was a ringer washer, and having a hard time finding parts for it. I thought it was in the beginning just a quick decision. Let me get her a simple, basic 2-cycle direct drive. You turn, push, pull, start, right? And that's it. Close the lid. And boy, she struggled. We got her a direct drive washer, and she just couldn't handle that situation. And we ended up finding parts for her ringer washer and getting it back to her. And it made her life, like, I felt like I helped her for the next decade going forward. And so it's really about understanding, as I prayed about, how important it is to recognize the situation you're in, where that customer is really at, not about where you're at with it. Is that about the?
Yeah. I mean, and being able to read that situation, because you guys, you put that other machine in there, and you're just, some companies are like, what are you talking? No, you're fine. Just get over it. But you guys were able to read that situation and realize like where that customer really was. You met her where she was, and that is such an important part. That probably meant the world to her, right?
It did. Yeah.
We had a customer recently, and I think I shared this one. We could not, our salesman could not get the close. He could not get this lady to pick a floor, to pick anything. Like, she was paralyzed, just absolutely paralyzed. And I came in to measure for trim and stuff like that, because she was 100% ready to go with that. And I was with our cabinet specialist, and he was out just measuring for trim and whatnot. And so I'm talking to the lady, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, you seem like you're just like extra resistant to changing your floor. And I'm not here to force you to change anything, but you called us. And so I want to understand where you are, Well, my brother laid this hardwood floor 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was. And she said, and he comes over, he lives in Texas, but when he comes back into town, he's just like, oh, that floor looks so good. And she's like, I feel like changing the floor. It's an emotional thing to her. Like, she feels like she's violating, betraying her brother. And she's like, I'm so stuck on that. And I said, well, good news. We have an option that will not ruin the floor that your brother installed. And so if you ever decide to go back and you want to have that floor, we're just going to cover over top of it without ruining it.
Sure.
And you could literally see the relief in her face, like,
right.
So we were able to connect with that emotion. We were able to connect with that struggle that the customer was having, where some people couldn't read the situation. They didn't understand. They didn't ask enough questions.
So we could boil that down to, wow, you got the sale, Zach. You figured out what the hindrance was, and you got the sale. But here's what you really did: is you helped her with a really personal challenge, and you came up with a solution that makes her happy, that satisfies what she wants, and also this, this lack of betrayal, this betrayal feeling that she was having with her brother, and so you really helped elevate her level of life, because she gets what she wants.
And that's what we do every day in houses. Like, and that's what we do every day on the phone. And that's what we do like every day with our teams. We have to meet people where they are, and we have to understand these situations. And it's not you should understand. It's you have to understand these situations. You have to meet people where they are. And your success really depends on that. It depends on how you're able to connect with people along your journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So How does this work with your team, Doug? I mean, we both shared examples of how it works with our customers. How does this work with your team? How do you flex your EQ muscle with your team?
Well, I mean, of course, why is so critical to us, and sharing the why, I think, gives people a chance to come alongside and believe in what we believe in, and making it more than just a paycheck. But this might side rail us for a moment. I just had a technician quit after 1 month. So he had 2 years of experience, came from a company that was really unstructured and unorganized, no tech support, no management, maybe a couple of fellow techs that were 100 miles away could help him, but he Googled everything. Everything was on paper. They didn't quote jobs while in the house. It was just very remedial type thing. And he had such a positive attitude about the whole thing. So as I'm sharing who we are, what we have to offer to support him, our why, our purpose, most of the time people get excited about what that purpose is. And he just seemed to not be, it was a red flag that I didn't notice. He just didn't seem, it didn't seem to have any effect on him at all. And so within 2 weeks of being on the road, he learned our software, and his first two pay period came up, and I hadn't talked to him yet about it, but he was like in the top third of my techs in revenue and all the numbers, follows all the rules. Boy, there's some of my boys I love at Action that can't follow paperwork and process and procedure, and they don't realize how much it brings down the whole team. This kid just nailed it. And then he had a couple issues.
Yeah.
Rock star. And he had a couple issues. Like, I need to be home and in the house by 5 o'clock. I was willing. The guy's not here within a month. And because he's so compliant, and when I was teaching him about why we do this certain task with a landlord, he was able to then move it out to a bigger picture and go, I see why you do that. This eliminates this. So I'm like, not a problem, my friend. He goes, the other thing is commission. I know that's how you guys do it, but I don't like it. And so in my head, I'm going, home by 5, hourly? It's a done deal. So when he was finished talking, he didn't want to, try to roll over him and oversell him. But I offered 2 solutions, and he kind of took it. But again, not emotionally connecting to anything, not connecting to our purpose, who we are, or, and I'm not looking for gratitude and appreciation. I just need some sort of recognition. 2 days later, he quit. So for me, that was a moment of, if I can't get through to a teammate here about our big picture purpose, if they can't get excited about what we strive to do and be, I'm going to have a real hard time overcoming, working with him. He has to have his own sort of aha moment about this. And he just couldn't get it. So I didn't pursue him any further. And we are desperate for technicians. I could have easily thrown him $10,000. I could have easily done whatever I had to do. He was asking for an hourly rate that was $6 less than I was ready to pay him. I could have but if they can't have that connective moment, it's time to part ways. And it's not about profit margin. It's because we would have those bumps in the road for the rest of the time he's working there.
Well, and I don't think you derailed this at all, because I mean, that perfectly summarizes what we are talking about with emotional quotient. You're putting people first, and the profits will come.
Yes.
Put people first, and the profits will come. Like, if you guys haven't figured that out, if you guys are chasing that dollar, get out. It's backwards.
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
No.
You're never going to find the satisfaction. You're never going to find that thing that you're looking for if you're just chasing the money. If you're chasing the money, it's going to fail. It's going to fail every single time. But if you start putting people first and you start seeking to understand where people are at in their situation, pretty soon you're going to find out that money just starts flowing,
Sure.
right? Like it just, and then you find the right teammates, right? You start to put those people first, and you begin to recognize like, oh, this is a valued member of the team. This is someone who gets it, who's going to take care of customers, who's going to take care of their teammates, who's going to, and that just begins to blossom out.
As
That's the important part.
As your team grows, you're going to find that no team members alike. They might be able to be put into categories. You have some that are motivated by money, and some that are motivated by time. A balance of time in their life. Some of them like gifts. Some of them like just the recognition. And you have to know those types of people and meet them where they're at and give them what they're seeking, which is those things. So as your team grows, it gets a little more, it becomes a little more work. But if you love this emotional connection, if that's something that you're good at. So what happens, Zach? What would you recommend to, Jim Bob, who doesn't have that strong suit, and he maybe has one technician and a part-time office person, and that he wants to level up? What would you think he should do if he doesn't have that skill set?
It's practice.
Practice.
Honestly, EQ is just practice. It's beginning to put yourself into situations. I don't know any other way to improve it. I'm maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe someone in the audience can chime in, drop it in the chat. But I don't know any other way to improve your EQ other than practice. Doug and I didn't get this chemistry just by like it wasn't magic. It's been a dance over the last like year or so, like where we just talk to each other on the phone, or we have a conversation in text, or we're on the show together. And so it's practicing back and forth. And, again, for me, like EQ is not a natural starting point for me. I have to work harder to read people. I might be able to read their emotions better, but I may not be able to respond to the emotions as well. And so like it is just practice. You put yourself in the situation. And then one of the best things that I've learned in EQ, and it's not always going to work because it's not about you. You're going to have to learn to be humble. You're going to have to eat crow sometimes, and you're going to have to apologize, because guess what? You are going to screw it up. It's going to happen. And you have to be fast to go, you know what? Sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
That's the only way I know. I mean, have you experienced it any other way?
I mean, the word practice doesn't sound so bad if you're a Major League Baseball player and you've got your gifts and talents all down and you got to continue to practice. But when you have to practice at something you suck at, I instantly start to think about learning how to ride a bike. For some reason, that early memory, because it was at 15. No, I'm just kidding. I was pretty young, but I can remember going, I don't think I want to ride a bike. I don't. Practicing something that you're not good at is not exactly the most exciting and motivated thing. Now, you just have to either have a super passion to want to do it, or you have to just tell yourself, I need to do this thing. And my wife hollered out, set small goals, right? But you're gonna have to recognize this is a journey, and that you're going to do something you don't want to do. And when you're done, so how about having an interaction with an employee that what you're going to say and do is wrong, and that's the easiest way to do it. And when we're in that cycle, all right, I'm going to say or do this, and if they don't like it, tough. And now that employee's angry and unproductive, or they quit, or they stop producing, and you fire them, and you're like, well, whatever. That was their choice. It was your choice first to do what you knew wasn't going to solve the problem. So you kind of got to persevere through it, and then pause and celebrate when you did something that you wouldn't normally do. It's the little goal setting things and recognizing I'm coming along here, right?
Now, you brought up baseball players.
Hmm.
How the heck do they get good at that?
Yeah,
It's the small things repeated,
that's right.
repeated. You don't become a home run king by going out and swinging at, every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to miss more shots than you take.
Yeah.
Every single time. You are going to miss more. And so if you begin to change that mindset, if you mindset coaches are back, right? If you begin to change that mindset and look at it as like Vale said, these little incremental getting better over the long run, pretty soon you're a lot further along than you thought you ever could be. And then all of a sudden it doesn't suck, right? Because I guarantee no Major League Baseball player would set out and is like, yeah, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to swing. The greats, the greats, because they're the ones who are quietly swinging the ball. They're there before everyone else. They're there after everyone else, doing the small mechanical things to get better at what they do. And it looks effortless when they're on the field. But the amount of practice, the amount of pain that they have to put in to get to that point is it's astronomical, right? And the same thing. Go ahead.
And when you're coaching and mentoring an employee to do this thing that's near impossible, right? To practice for something that you can't even imagine will benefit you well moving forward, they need to trust you, and you need to figure out how. I always say when we're dealing with a difficult customer or employee with our leadership team, we just have to figure out how to trick them to like what we're about to offer them. It's a matter of helping them where they're stuck, and I'm using it in a negative way, trick them to come out of that corner and try what we're offering to try.
Yeah, but you're not
instead of trick. But I like trick because it makes me feel good inside. Although I'm not supposed to say that if I feel good about it.
But you're not really tricking them. I mean, so and that's the point of EQ, is that you're reading where they are and you're understanding where they need to go, and you're helping them to achieve that.
That's
right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's for those of you that don't want to practice it, like your 1 and 2 man show, like Doug, how expensive is it to attract a new employee?
Well, it's like 5 figures when it's all said and done, to get them on board and trained and on the road. So that's 10,000 up.
How expensive is it to retain an employee after you've attracted them?
It depends. If they like miniature golf, that's only $12 a month,
but comparatively,
oh yeah,
I mean, it's like,
you know what?
There's no comparison.
It's not my money, but I treat it like it is because I don't own Action Appliance. But for me, how about this? Driving as a technician for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
If my wife says to me, "Can we go the long way to the mall?" That right there it's like chalk, like fingernails on the chalkboard. No, we need to be efficient and right to it. If I hire someone and I can't get that buy-in, like when that technician quit, that really took the wind out of my sails for a few moments, because that's what I'm striving for. It's not about the lost money. It's about the time lost trying to get somebody to buy in for me, and then the failure of not having it happen. So it's more for me. It's more of about the momentum of the company of Action continuing throughout the year after year, striving for the next 5 and next 10 years. These little hiccups are much more impactful than money for me.
But if you begin to practice that, and that's my point, because like when you're a 1 and 2 man show, and I guarantee that if we asked Jay this question back when it was just you and him, like it's so much more expensive to get that 3rd technician, to get that 4th technician, and if you don't improve your EQ while you're at 1 and 2, it gets crazy expensive and it
Oh,
sucks
absolutely.
the time and it kills the momentum, right? Think about it. You got 5 technicians. Now all of a sudden you're off the road, right? You don't have to be that 6th guy. You have 5 guys out there. They are running and you're doing this thing, and you lose that guy because you haven't improved your EQ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only did you kill your profit margin, now all of a sudden you killed your time, you killed your momentum because you didn't level up.
Right.
That's what we're saying, guys. Take
Yeah.
the practice now. It might be painful now, but in the long run, holy crap, it's so worth it. I mean, it's just it
That's a
is.
topic that's been brought up quite a bit in our industry. Like there was a Zoom. My wife does not call the shots. Saul. Okay, maybe she does, but it's because the blood coming out of the ear. It's impact. It's a lot. But, oh no. All right.
I've enjoyed having her as the hidden co-host of the morning.
No,
It's been fun.
That's the evilest eyes I've ever seen. Now, stop it, Zach. You guys can't ever meet. It won't be healthy. No, we've been in some industry meetings on Zoom, like a couple of them in the last month, and you're absolutely right. I don't know what it's like to have your bank account be barely making it, and then to engage in trust and hire someone and go through all that process. If you don't have that emotional buy-in from that employee, Jay, Jay was, we were in one of those meetings and I was chatting with Jay after, and he goes, I've been afraid of going broke for more years being in business than not. And he goes, that's the hardest stuff. And there was a few times that he was just wondering, maybe this isn't worth it, but you got to persevere through it. We know mutually, we know a bunch of guys that are in that same boat. Glad that it's finally picked up so that the bank account is up. So that could be an easy fear to not even go down that road. But I think you need to. Otherwise, you'll stay right where you're at until you decide maybe one day I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So you're going to have to persevere and you have to put that emotional energy in. And it's the law of the lid, isn't it, Zach? If we're not good at that, then we need to practice and we need to read and we need to get into mastermind groups and we need to hear our friends speak.
Get a mentor. Yeah.
Get a mentor, get a coach.
And that's why that's why you and I work so well together, right? Yeah. Because on the EQ side of things, your lid is much higher than mine. And so every day I get better at that EQ because I have you as a friend. Your lid is that much higher. And so my lid continually gets higher just by being in interaction with you and with EJ. And it matters. Like that stuff matters. So get around people that are better at things that you want to be better at. And pretty soon your lid is going to get higher. Okay. Yeah. You're not going to be capped where you are. It's just that law. You can't outrun that one. I think out of any of Maxwell's laws, that is the one that cripples so many people because you can't get around it. There's no way around it.
I remember leading a class at ASTI a couple years ago, and it was we were breaking up into small groups. There's maybe 50 people in there, and this one guy sort of proclaims loudly, this is fun, this is good stuff, I've heard all this before, I am successful, and there's really not much else out there that I can change. I'm really good right where I'm at. And I could just see this collectiveness in the room look towards him, and I'm not judging him. I'm just saying, if you ever feel that way, I don't know. That's a scary
You need
moment.
to get in another room. You need to get in another room because you're capped right here. Like if you think that you cannot improve, you are capped right here. And pretty soon people are going to be flying by you. And
but I can think of 5 times this year thinking about the next 5 years or the next 10 years and being really exhausted and slightly annoyed that it's going to be the same journey of trying something new failing, learning from it, trying something new, failing. And I'm like, I don't know, man. When is it going to get easier? But in the moment, when you overcome a challenge, when you learn something new, when you have that light bulb moment in your head and you're like, oh, it's beautiful. But it's kind of like exercise and practice. It's boring and it seems like it doesn't have a part to play. Like it's not something we want to do, but you have to keep doing it, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to sacrifice abs and biceps, period. I'm not even going to think about it anymore. It's not important. I'm going to just keep trying to exercise this thing.
Rob, if you're listening, he needs to sign up for another 5K. Let's go.
In a couple asses, I'll just be a giant head rolling around on a cart, and that's it. No muscle. Will you still be with me, Val?
No.
She said no. All right, I guess I'll work a little bit on the abs and the biceps.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, that is our show for the day. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you chiming in. Hopefully, we've added some value to you today. Get out there, practice loving some people, and when you fall, brush yourself off, get up, try again. You're gonna get better over time.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good day. Bye, Zach. Appreciate you, brother.